This animation begins by showing the day of the National Science Fair. Wednesday, who is currently very interested in biology, will attend the science fair. As usual, the Addams family will come to the exhibition to support Wednesday with a striking and dramatic appearance. Long story short, it was time for Wednesday to show off her invention. Through the liquid she made, Wednesday can transfer the intelligence of animals into the bodies of other living things, including humans. Wednesday is using her uncle, Fester, as a test subject. She transferred an octopus's intelligence to Fester, allowing him to arrange random Rubiks very quickly. After all the participants showed off their inventions, Cyrus Strange, one of the scientists who organized the scientific exhibition, went to the podium to give awards to the participants whose inventions were considered the best. But unexpectedly, all the participants who participated in the scientific exhibition were named the winners. Hearing this, Wednesday, who was already confident that she would win, felt unhappy because there were no losers. Cyrus then approached Wednesday because he was interested in Wednesday's research. Cyrus wanted to know the formula used by Wednesday in her scientific work, but she didn't want to tell him because the formula was an Addams Family secret. On the other hand, when the exhibition is over, Pugsley creates chaos in the place. After that, Wednesday and her family went home. Shortly after that, Fester entered Pugsley's room to give him advice about romance because Pugsley's goal of coming to the science fair was to find a girlfriend, even though, in the end, he failed to attract the hearts of the girls there. Shortly after, Grandmama's voice announced that dinner time had arrived and invited all members of the Addams family to go to the dining room. All members of the Addams family had gathered at the dining table except Wednesday, and this was the third time Wednesday did not eat with her family because she was not in a good mood. Gomez, who knew that, felt that his daughter was sad about the decision of the winner of today's exhibition, which did not match her expectations. Gomez then had an idea to make Wednesday's mood happy again by taking the whole family on vacation. Morticia, who heard that, agreed with her husband's idea. The next morning, they prepared to start the trip using the Addams family's special camping car. Gomez forced Wednesday and Pugsley to come along with the pretext of strengthening family ties. However, when they were about to leave, they were suddenly visited by an old man named Mr. Mustila. Mr. Mustila is a lawyer who represents a family named Sausalito. Mustila told Gomez and Morticia that the newborn daughter of the Sausalito family was switched with another girl at the hospital and the baby girl was none other than Wednesday Addams. Hearing this statement, Gomez and Morticia burst out laughing because they didn't believe Mr. Mustila. Gomez assumed that Mr. Mustila had instructed by Wednesday to cancel their vacation plans today. Gomez and Morticia ignored Mr. Mustila and got into the car. After that, the Addams family vacation trip began. In the car, Gomez explained the route of their vacation trip. First, they would go to Salem, which was famous as the City of Witches. Then they would cross several cities in various states of the United States until they arrived at their final destination, Death Valley, and it was estimated that their trip this time would take 3 weeks. However, unbeknownst to the Addams family, they were followed by Mr. Mustila and his bodyguard, Pongo. They both planned to take back Wednesday at any cost and hand her over to the Sausalito family, because if they failed, they would both be fired by their clients. Later that evening, when only 10 miles left to go to Salem, Fester suddenly changed the route to Niagara Falls. Upon arriving at Niagara Falls, they stopped and went down to enjoy the beauty of the waterfalls. However, because Fester had previously been the subject of Wednesday's experiment, his body slowly began to turn into an octopus. On the other hand, Pugsley was seen flirting with the girls there, but the girls became uncomfortable with his attitude and walked away from him. Wednesday, who saw her brother struggling, tried to help him by moving his body using a voodoo doll, where she then controlled him to dance and then threw him into a waterfall. Meanwhile, Morticia, who was with her husband, accidentally saw Mr. Mustila and Pongo in the same place as them. Gomez, who also saw their presence, then had the idea to avoid Mr. Mustila and Pongo by putting all his family members into a barrel and jumping into the waterfall. Wednesday, who had reached the edge of the waterfall, slowly began to realize the strangeness of her father. Even so, they all continued on their way to enjoying their vacation. In the meantime, Grandmama was having a party at home by selling the visitors tickets and promising them they would get an interesting show if they came to the Addams family's house. At the same time, Morticia tried to call Grandmama, but since Grandmama was busy having a party, she ignored the call. Long story short, after a long journey, the Addams family decided to take a short break by stopping at a forest. That night, Gomez and Morticia recounted when Wednesday and Pugsley were toddlers. Fester also shared the story of when he made a scene in the nursery. Fester came to the hospital to see the newborn Wednesday, but when he was in the nursery, he accidentally woke up all the babies there. Fester then tried to make all the babies calm down by throwing and turning the babies one by one until, finally, all the babies stopped crying. But after that, Fester returned the babies to their boxes randomly. Hearing that, Gomez and Morticia became increasingly panicked and finally decided to go away so they could talk alone. Morticia told her husband she was worried that what Mr. Mustila said was true. Morticia was also afraid that if Mr. Mustila found out about this fact, he would not stop trying to take Wednesday away from them. Upon learning that, Gomez says that he has a solution to the problem and they walk back to the car. After that, the Addams family continued their journey by moving from one city to another to avoid Mr. Mustila until they finally arrived at Miami Beach. From a distance, precisely in the middle of the ocean, someone appeared, who Gomez had been waiting for, that is, his cousin ITT. He planned to join the trip with the Addams family. After all family members were complete, the Addams family continued their journey to San Antonio. Upon arrival in Texas, Wednesday chatted with ITT in the car. Meanwhile, behind them, Mr. Mustila and Pongo still hadn't given up on chasing them. Now the two were openly trying to snatch Wednesday. Gomez and Morticia, who knew that, tried to hide from Mr. Mustila and Pongo by going to a place called the Alamo. Upon arrival at the Alamo, Gomez, who wanted to hide his daughter, forced Wednesday to participate in a performance. She was dragged in to be dressed up and put in costumes, and after that, she was forced to dance along with other girls on stage while Gomez and his family watched the performance from the audience seats. Wednesday, who felt uncomfortable with her situation, became angry and dropped a red liquid that hit the other children on stage. Shortly after, Mr. Mustila and Pongo finally arrived at the venue. Gomez, who saw them, immediately shouted and told everyone that Mr. Mustila was one of the talent agents. Hearing that, everyone in the room immediately jumped toward Mr. Mustila. The Addams family then took the opportunity to escape from that place and immediately continued their journey. In the car, Wednesday, who already knew that Mr. Mustila was always chasing her, then tried to ask her father, but Gomez, who was worried, still did not want to be honest with her daughter about Mr. Mustila's true purpose. Gomez instead planned to go somewhere uninteresting to keep Wednesday away from Mr. Mustila and hoped things would return to normal. Long story short, the Addams family finally arrived at the Grand Canyon. Only a few moments after they got off the car, the changes in Fester's body worsened, and now he could release ink from his body. On the other hand, Morticia then gave Wednesday the necklace left by her mother. While they were enjoying the beauty of the Grand Canyon, Pugsley suddenly blew up the place and made all the visitors there flee out of fear. Gomez, angry with his son's mischief, asked for his explosive device and threw it into the ravine. Wednesday was seen sitting on a rock while looking at the necklace given by her mother. Not long after, the trap that Wednesday had prepared finally caught Mr. Mustila. Wednesday approached Mr. Mustila to ask him questions, but he didn't have time to answer her questions because his cell phone suddenly rang. Wednesday then took the phone from Mr. Mustila's shirt pocket and answered the phone, which turned out to be a video call from Cyrus. Cyrus revealed to her that she was his biological daughter who was switched. After seeing Wednesday for the first time at the science fair, he immediately recognized that she was his daughter. Cyrus said that if she wanted proof, she should go to his house in Sausalito. While her father was asleep at night, Wednesday took her father's hair to be used as a DNA sample. After doing some research, it turns out that her DNA results with her father are not the same, which means Wednesday is not part of the Addams family. Therefore, that night, Wednesday decided to leave the Addams family and went to Cyrus' house, who claimed to be her biological father. Before leaving, she left a letter for the Addams family. Wednesday then started the journey to Cyrus' house in Sausalito with Lurch, because he did not want to let her go alone. On the other hand, Gomez, who knew the purpose of Wednesday going to Cyrus' house, immediately decided to catch up with her daughter by car and hoped to see her again. Sometime later, Wednesday and Lurch finally got to Death Valley, where they met a bunch of motorcycle gangs. In a restaurant, Wednesday asked one of the biker gang members for the location of Sausalito, but she was about to be attacked by the biker gang leader. Fortunately, the biker gang members melted and abandoned their intention to hurt Wednesday after hearing Lurch's singing, and they became friends. The biker gang then drove Wednesday and Lurch to Sausalito until they reached the gate of Cyrus' house. After that, the biker gang said goodbye and left from there. Arriving at the place, Cyrus immediately greeted them, inviting Wednesday and Lurch to enter his house and introducing them to his wife and daughter, Ophelia. Shortly afterward, Cyrus invited Wednesday to his lab. In the lab, Cyrus then showed the results of his research, which turned out to be the same as Wednesday's findings that she showed during the scientific exhibition at the beginning of the movie. Not only that, but Cyrus also said that he was researching human behavior. This then made Wednesday interested. Cyrus then said that he wanted the formula used by Wednesday during the exhibition, which was the secret formula of the Addams family, but before that, they would both do a DNA test first, and the results matched. From the lab monitor screen connected to the CCTV camera, Wednesday and Cyrus saw the Addams family who had arrived in front of his house. But Fester did not come in and preferred to stay in the car because he felt his body was becoming increasingly strange. Wednesday, Cyrus and his wife then came out to welcome the Addams family. Gomez and Morticia then asked Wednesday to return with them. Still, Wednesday refused because according to the DNA test results, she and Cyrus were declared 100% match, which indicated that she was not part of the Addams family. Hearing that, Gomez and Morticia became very sad, and now Lurch became Cyrus' man. Before they left, Wednesday then asked the Addams family to stay overnight at the Cyrus residence as a token of her gratitude to them for taking care of and raising her all this time. Reluctantly, Gomez, Morticia, and Pugsley decided to stay at the Cyrus residence to protect Wednesday. Later that evening, Pugsley meets Ophelia and invites her to eat cake together, but he finds some strange in her when she eats very greedily. When Pugsley tries to get close to her, he becomes very surprised when he sees Ophelia suddenly turn into a pig. Knowing this, Pugsley quickly left to tell his parents. On the other hand, Morticia felt that Cyrus had lied and was only targeting Wednesday for his interests. Shortly after, Pugsley visited his parents by luring Cyrus' wife and Ophelia with biscuits. At the same time, Cyrus appeared and revealed that his wife and daughter were animals that were injected with human traits. So that's why he wanted Wednesday, because Wednesday's experiments always succeeded, while he always failed. Therefore, he deliberately faked his DNA test. Because he was already caught, Cyrus then released smoke that put all the Addams family to sleep to make them the subject of his first experiment along with Wednesday. Then he continued his research with Wednesday to complete the formula, and when the formula was finished, he felt very happy. Cyrus then showed Wednesday the various genetic codes he had and invited Wednesday to do a test. Wednesday, who saw the Addams family as test subjects, immediately felt angry and asked Cyrus to let them go, but Cyrus continued to refuse until Wednesday finally asked Lurch for help. Cyrus then called Pongo to protect him from Lurch, but what happened was that Lurch and Pongo hugged each other affectionately, which made Cyrus very surprised. Lurch and Pongo turned out to be good friends when they were both in the mental hospital. Pongo then threw Cyrus into the tube where the Addams family was trapped, and the throw managed to free the Addams family. But Cyrus was instead exposed to a green liquid that turned him into a chicken monster. Pongo and Lurch then tried to attack him again, but they both failed because Cyrus was stronger this time. When they were all cornered, Fester came, who turned out to have turned into a giant octopus monster, and there was a very fierce battle between Fester and Cyrus. In the middle of the fight, Fester managed to knock Cyrus into the ravine, but he collapsed because of his unstable state. Wednesday immediately gave Fester the antidote she made using the blood from the necklace her mother gave until finally, his body began to return to normal. Long story short, the Addams family finally returned home. Grandmama welcomed them and was surprised because they returned earlier than the planned schedule. Even so, they were not angry when they discovered that their house was used as a party venue by Grandmama, and instead, they all joined the party with the visitors. Wednesday then asked her father about the DNA test results of her father's hair that didn't match hers. Their DNA test results did not show a match because Gomez had been wearing a wig because his head was bald. Now Wednesday finally feels relieved after learning that she is the biological daughter of Morticia and Gomez. They were all finally happy, including Ophelia, who came with them back home to the Addams family. This animated film ends by showing Gomez planning to take his family on a trip to all the tourist attractions in the world.